Imagine finding a 2,000-year-old software patch for human consciousness hidden in a forbidden religious text.
Right. And then realizing it supposedly requires an 18-pound crystal in your backyard to finally activate.
It is wild. So, welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. Usually, we look at a rock and we just see a rock. A quartz crystal goes into a watch to keep the time, or into a circuit board to conduct energy.
Yeah, strictly functional stuff.
Exactly. But today we are stepping into a realm where the physical materials of the Earth are viewed as this ancient, waiting technology. We're looking through a stack of articles and product descriptions from a crystal healing website called KSC Crystals.
And we are focusing specifically on a super detailed account written in 2012 by an author named Robert Simmons.
Right. It's all about this phenomenon he calls Azozeo Super-Activated Azeztulites.
It is a genuinely remarkable piece of source material. I mean, regardless of where anyone personally stands on the concept of crystal healing or subtle energies, the text we are breaking down today is an absolute masterclass in modern world building.
Oh, absolutely.
It just seamlessly blends historical theology with very specific, tangible, physical rituals.
Yeah, so whether you view this as literal spiritual truth or just fascinating modern mythology, it's an incredible journey into the human search for enlightenment through physical objects. It is a brilliant case study in how complex belief systems are constructed from the ground up. So, okay, let's unpack this.
To really grasp the scale of what Simmons is describing, we have to set the scene. We are going back to August of 2012.
Okay, 2012.
Yep. Robert Simmons is sitting at his home in Vermont, and he isn't just looking at, like, a manicured lawn or a garden gnome. He is gazing at a physical labyrinth he constructed on his property.
Wait, an actual labyrinth?
An actual labyrinth, built entirely out of specific stones, mostly Azeztulites and Rosophia stones.
Which, if you aren't deep into the mineral trade, those are highly specific, deeply prized types of quartz and earth stones.
Exactly. And as he's sitting there looking at this labyrinth, he's reflecting on a massive, overarching narrative that he and his co-author, Naisha, have been entangled with for over 20 years.
Right, and this all centers around a group of beings known as the Azez.
Yeah. The Azez are described in the lore as angelic, light-based entities. According to our sources, these beings actually pre-announced the physical discovery of these stones to Naisha.
Oh, wow. Like a heads up.
Exactly. They communicated that these specific stones were coming to the surface, and they dictated that they had to be named Azeztulite.
And the mission they outline isn't small either. This isn't about finding a pretty rock to put on your mantle for, good vibes.
No, not at all.
The Azez have a cosmic-level prophecy. They intend for every single piece of unawakened quartz on the entire planet Earth to eventually be infused with what they call the nameless light of the great central sun.
It's massive. The ultimate goal of that infusion is the mass enlightenment of humanity. They want to trigger the awakening of Earth into a planet of light.
So sitting by his labyrinth in Vermont, Simmons is contemplating his own role in this massive cosmic blueprint.
Right, but he isn't just relying on modern channeling. He starts doing research for a new book, hunting for historical precedents, and he stumbles across an ancient text.
And here's where it gets really interesting. He finds a connection in a document called the Book of Ieou.
The Book of Ieou is a genuinely fascinating historical document. It's one of the apocryphal Gnostic Gospels.
Just for some quick context, Gnostic texts are early, esoteric Christian writings that emphasize personal, direct spiritual knowledge or gnosis over Orthodox teachings. They didn't make it into the canonical Bible.
Right. And this specific book is purported to be an ascension guide, literally dictated by Jesus to his disciples after his own ascension, detailing exactly how a soul is supposed to navigate the spiritual realms.
It paints a picture of a very bureaucratic, obstacle-filled afterlife. It's not just floating on a cloud. You have to pass checkpoints.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. The text describes a moment where the ascending soul reaches the fourth eon and encounters a pair of obstructing archons.
And an archon is Ian.
An archon in Gnostic tradition is essentially a cosmic gatekeeper or adversarial force trying to keep the soul trapped in the material world. The text even names these two specific gatekeepers, Samarlo and Chochachucha.
The specificity is wild. You get to the fourth eon, and Samarlo and Chochachucha are standing there blocking the door.
Exactly. And to get past them, the ancient text provides highly detailed instructions. It states that the ascending soul must seal itself with a protective seal named Azozeo.
Okay, Azozeo.
You must hold a cipher, specifically the number 45555, in your hands, and then you're instructed to call upon protective beings for defense, and the names of those beings are Zose, Chosozata, and Zazezo.
I mean, when Simmons reads this, you can imagine the light bulb going off.
Oh, absolutely.
Because those ancient names sound incredibly similar to the Azez, the angelic beings who directed him to find Azeztulite in the modern day. And that protective seal is called Azozeo.
Right. He realizes he's looking at a 2,000-year-old manual for spiritual ascension that perfectly mirrors his modern work with these Vermont stones.
It's crazy.
He draws a profound connection. The name Azez, he was originally told, means the nameless light of the great central sun. That aligns perfectly with the primary goal of ascension in the Book of Ieou, which is to bypass the archons and ascend to the ultimate realms of light.
So he concludes that these are the exact same protective entities, working to aid human evolution for at least 2 millennia.
Exactly.
Think about the gravity of that claim. It's like unearthing a 2,000-year-old software patch for human consciousness hidden in a forbidden gospel, and realizing it perfectly interfaces with the hardware of the quartz crystals sitting in your front yard. It completely bridges the gap between abstract esoteric theology and tangible earthly objects.
And that bridge into the physical world is what prompts the next phase of the story. Because Simmons doesn't just read this ancient text and write a blog post about it.
Well, of course not.
He looks at his stones and asks a mechanical question. If this lore is true, could these Azeztulite stones reach a higher octave? Could they be pushed beyond their natural state and further activated?
Which triggers an intense, spontaneous vision. He's looking at his stone labyrinth, and he suddenly sees a glowing pyramid of supernal light hovering right over the center of it.
Right, and that vision demands action. He decides to physically manifest what he saw by building an elaborate construction.
He builds an actual copper pyramid right in the center of his labyrinth.
Yeah, and the pipes of this copper structure are meticulously filled with Azeztulite and Rosophia stones.
Wait, if he's treating this like a physical circuit, you can't just have copper wire and some glass. Copper is famously conductive in electrical engineering. He's building the wiring, but he needs a battery, right?
Right.
Did he just use regular quartz for the power source?
No, he turns to something much rarer. The source text details how he received a compelling inner urge to utilize 2 very specific stones from his personal collection to create what he calls a circuit of light. He pulls out 2 massive Phenacite crystals.
Phenacites is known for being intensely high vibration in these circles.
Magnific.
And we aren't talking about little pocket stones you carry around.
Far from it. At the apex, the very top of the copper pyramid, he places a 2-pound African phenacite.
Wow.
And at the base, right in the geometric center of the structure, he places an 18-pound terminated Brazilian phenacite single crystal.
Okay, just to clarify the geology terminology there for you guys. When crystal healers talk about a terminated crystal, they mean a stone that grew naturally into a complete faceted point. It hasn't been cut or shaped by human machinery.
Yeah, that's an important distinction.
The belief is that a natural termination directs energy much more purely, and finding one that weighs 18 pounds is staggering.
He actually notes that he believes this 18-pounder might be the world's largest of its kind. So he has this massive natural energy director at the bottom, pointing up, and a smaller one at the top, pulling down.
If you've ever walked into a crystal shop or seen someone meditating with a stone, you know it's usually a very passive, quiet experience. You hold the rock, you close your eyes, you breathe, and you try to tune in to whatever is naturally there.
Exactly.
But this setup is entirely different. This is spiritual electrical engineering. We have copper wiring, geometric structures, heavy crystal batteries. How does this active mechanical construction differ from the normal way people interact with crystals?
What's fascinating here is that Simmons himself acknowledges that exact shift in his philosophy. He writes that in his 30 years of working with crystals, he had only ever attuned himself to the vibrations that were already naturally emanating from the earth.
Right.
He had never tried to alter them, amplify them, or force an increase in their power.
The vision forced him to stop being a passive observer and start pulling the levers himself.
Yeah, he steps into the role of an active co-creator. So, to finish the machine, he brings a glass table into the center of the pyramid, suspended right between the 2 giant Phenacites.
Okay.
This glass table is where the standard Azeztulite stones are placed to be activated. Then, he weaves in the ancient text. He prints out the cipher, the word Azozeo, from the 2,000-year-old Book of Ieou.
And he physically attaches the printed words to all 4 sides of the table, corresponding to the 4 directions.
Yep. The ritual itself is very structured. He walks the labyrinth, carrying the stones to the center table. He speaks the invocation Azozeo aloud to the north, south, east, and west.
And then silently to a fifth direction, inward or upward, presumably.
Right, and then he just steps back. His intuition tells him to leave them inside this copper and crystal circuit for one cycle of night and day, 24 hours.
So the architecture of the ritual is complete, but the real test is the aftermath. What happens when the 24 hours are up? We have the conductive copper, the 18-pound battery, the ancient Gnostic cipher. So what does this all mean when we talk about the results of this spiritual technology? Did it actually work?
According to Simmons, the results were instantaneous and overwhelming. When he brings the stones inside after a day and picks one up, he claims the difference was profound. The text states the stones had more than doubled in their intensity.
Wow, doubled. He describes the frequency of their pulsations as being dramatically faster. He says the energetic currents moved from his hands, shot straight to his third eye, into his crown chakra, which is the energy center at the very top of the head, used for spiritual connection, and then rushed down through his entire body into the earth.
It's intense. He experiences a vivid vision of traveling to the great central sun. He feels what he describes as spiraling currents of celestial fire spinning down into his crown, weaving a web of divine light directly into his biology.
It sounds like a total overload.
He realizes this is what light body activation actually feels like. And crucially, for the lore he's building, he doesn't just rely on his own solitary experience.
Right, he needs peer review, in a sense. He brings the newly activated stones to his wife, Kathy, who immediately feels the intensified difference.
Yeah.
He brings them to a friend, Leo McPhee, who is a veteran crystal teacher and a gemstone essence maker. Leo is affected just as powerfully.
They establish this corroboration that something fundamental has shifted in the physical material of these stones. They aren't just Azeztulites anymore. They are now Azozeo Super-Activated.
And the source text takes it a step further, attempting to explain the actual mechanics of how a rock can change its energetic output. The philosophy gets incredibly intricate here.
It really does.
Yeah.
Simmons claims that these super-activated stones are bringing in not just subtle energy, but subtle matter.
Subtle matter, that's a really important distinction. Could you break down what he means by that?
Sure. In esoteric philosophy, you have gross matter, which is the physical stuff we can measure. Atoms, molecules, human biology.
Right, the tangible stuff.
Exactly. Subtle matter is an etheric, spiritual substance. Usually those two things are kept separate. But Simmons argues that this subtle matter from the spiritual realms is being channeled through the stones and literally bonding with the gross matter in our physical cells.
So it is spiritualizing our biology. It teaches the physical cells to open up and receive the light.
Yes, which ties perfectly into a core concept in the text about human biology and intelligence. The text argues that we are fundamentally misunderstanding how we process information because we think we only have one brain.
Oh, right. Simmons asserts we actually have three intelligences.
Exactly. The first is mental intelligence, which is based in the brain. The text notes that during the darker, more disconnected times of human history, this logical mental intelligence dominated.
It's useful, but it is ultimately limiting because it cuts us off from our spiritual wholeness.
Right. Then the second is soul intelligence, which is based in the heart. This is described as the seat of our divine imagination and empathy.
And then there is the third, which is the ultimate target of these Azozeo stones, universal intelligence.
Yeah. This intelligence isn't centralized. It is based throughout all the physical cells of the entire body, creating what he calls the liquid crystal body matrix.
The biological claim here is just staggering. By holding these activated stones, the subtle matter bonds to your gross matter, and it awakens this cellular universal intelligence. It turns every single cell in your body into an active antenna.
The text says that when this is fully activated, humanity will be able to know things with our bodies without needing to learn them.
It promises an evolutionary leap where intuition and inspiration become pure, undeniable vision. You just direct your attention to a subject, and you feel the comprehensive knowledge of it instantly resonating in your cells.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you? Think about the concept of muscle memory. A concert pianist doesn't have to consciously think about where their fingers go, right? Their hands just know the chord progression.
That's a perfect analogy.
It's taking that scientifically proven concept of instinctual cellular memory and elevating it to a mystical, interdimensional extreme. The text even claims that if two people hold hands with an Azozeo stone between them, They can experience an empathy so deep and instantaneous, it borders on literal telepathy.
That is the scale of the transformation being promised here. But if Simmons and his network truly believe they have unlocked a tool for cellular telepathy and physical enlightenment, they can't just keep it in a living room in Vermont.
No, they have a massive endgame in mind.
Yeah.
Because the Azez prophecy stated that all quartz on Earth needed to be activated. How do you scale up a backyard copper pyramid to cover the entire globe?
Well, Simmons explains that the divine energy from the great central sun is already bathing the Earth, signaling the dawn of a new golden age.
Okay.
But this energy needs a physical conduit. The Azozeo's Azeztulites function as the physical grounding wires for these currents. They bring the energy down, but they require human participation to spread it.
We have to act as pillars of light to conduct the fire into the wider world. And the primary strategy for that distribution is ritual planting. Simmons shares a concept introduced by his friend Robert Sordello, who had an intuition about something called contagious currents.
Yeah, the theory of contagious currents suggests that if you ritually plant these super-activated Azozeo stones in strategic locations around the world, forests, mountains, cities, their much higher vibration will naturally spread.
It will positively infect the surrounding unawakened quartz buried in the Earth's crust, upgrading it to Azeztulite.
Exactly.
Hold on, that sounds exactly like a mycelial network in a forest, like a benevolent spiritual virus meant to infect the Earth's crust with enlightenment. You drop an activated stone into the ground, it sends out a signal, and starts talking to all the normal quartz nearby, waking it up, creating an invisible underground grid of awakened stones.
It's a brilliant conceptual leap that solves the problem of scale. And as they're planning this global network, they realize they don't have to limit this activation process to just the original white Azeztulite stones.
Because the copper pyramid is still sitting there in the labyrinth. It's an open machine. So they start putting other receptive crystals on the glass table to see what happens.
Right. They discover the Azozeo field works on several other types of stones, too. The text mentions Auralite 23, Nirvana quartz, Lemurian-like crystals, and Guardianite. After 24 hours in the pyramid, they all jump to that faster rhythm of pulsation.
The source material from KSC crystals lists several specific varieties that have gone through this exact Vermont activation process and are available to their customers.
Yeah, there's quite a list.
You've got honey and cream Azeztulite, golden Azeztulite, red fire Azeztulite, Setuloka rose, and sorlite Azeztulite. But there's one specific variety they highlight in a separate article that really captures the emotional core of this whole movement.
You're talking about the New Zealand White Azeztulite.
Yeah, let's focus on that one. The description of what it supposedly does is incredibly visceral.
So, the New Zealand White Azeztulite is a quartz-based mineral found exclusively in a highly remote mountain area of New Zealand. And the KSC crystals listing notes that the examples they have went through the exact Azozeo activation process we just detailed.
So it has the ancient cipher, the copper pyramid, the 18-pound Phenacite battery. And what is the result? Simmons writes that it emanates a pure ray of the nameless light energy. But practically speaking, it is meant to offer the essence of pure joy.
That's the emotional hook right there. It is said to allow a person to finally release incredibly constricted emotional patterns, deep grief, long-standing depression, pervasive anxiety, or anger.
It is described as washing those heavy patterns away and rekindling the inner flame of spiritual light within the cells. The quote that really stood out from the product description is this: "To be with this stone is like walking with an angel beside you."
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we are looking at is a perfect mirror for some of the most deep-seated human desires.
The desire to heal.
Yes, the desire to magically heal our emotional pain and find peace. But more importantly, the desire to have a tangible physical role in saving the world.
Right.
This entire narrative, from uncovering the ancient Gnostic texts to building the copper pyramid to the global planting of contagious stones, provides a framework where an individual isn't helpless.
They are an active co-creator in bringing about a new golden age, simply by holding, intending, and planting a specific piece of the earth. It gives immense cosmic purpose to the physical world.
Absolutely.
It transforms a piece of quartz from a standard geological curiosity into a 2,000-year-old key for unlocking cellular telepathy and global enlightenment.
This raises an important question about human psychology. It forces us to look at the immense power of human intention. When a person holds a piece of New Zealand White Azeztulite and they believe with every fiber of their being that it is infused with celestial fire meant to cure their grief, that belief itself is a staggering force. We are capable of imbuing so much profound meaning, ritual, and hope into the natural world around us.
We really are. Think about the journey we just took. We started with a 2,000-year-old Gnostic warning about obstructing archons blocking the afterlife.
Yeah, wild.
We moved to a backyard labyrinth in Vermont, acting as a spiritual circuit board, and ended up with a global mission to rewire human cells for a utopian awakening using contagious rocks. It is a breathtaking architecture of belief.
It truly is.
And it leaves you with something fascinating to consider. So here is a final thought for you to mull over today as you go about your routine. Even if you view this entire story as a modern myth or psychological world building, consider the sheer amount of quartz in your daily life.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's vibrating in the watch on your wrist. It's the essential component making the microchips in your smartphone function. It is literally buried in the dirt and concrete under your feet right now. What if the inanimate objects surrounding you aren't just dead matter? What if they are just waiting for your intention to activate their potential? How might that perspective change the way you interact with the physical world today?
A fantastic question to leave off on.
Thanks for taking the plunge with us. Keep questioning the world around you.